Hi guys, so I thought I'd do a little mukbang for you on camera. So yeah, I'm gonna make a pasta now. It's called mac and peas. So I've just boiled up some pasta and some peas in a pan. I boiled them up together for about 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure you can all do that. But I'm gonna show you the recipe for the sauce, and I'm gonna obviously pour it on the pasta, and it's just a really, really simple meal, I think. Right, so I use quite a few different ingredients for my mac and cheese to make it taste a little bit cheesy and have like a sour kind of salty taste. So this is almond flour. Then we just add in a little bit of salt. I add quite a lot normally. Next thing you want is some lemon juice. So you add in some mustard powder, just a tiny bit. The next thing we want is some garlic powder. I normally add quite a lot of this, not that much though. Yep. The final thing is some soya milk. This gives it a nice kind of like creamy taste, I think. So now what we're going to do is just mix this all round and make it into a nice, you know, like cheesy, saucy thing. So it should be quite good. This is a little bit thick. So when it's a little bit thick, you just add a little bit of soya milk, or you can add a little bit of water in there. That's quite nice as well. So this is the consistency I like. It's a little bit runny. It's like a more, like a hummus almost consistency. And this should be quite good because it should go into the pasta and it should be really nice and saucy. Right, so I'm going to pour the sauce on now and just mix all around. It should be really nice. It's a bit of a weird colour, isn't it? It's like a grey colour. But I think it should be good. If you want to make it like a yellowy colour, just add in a bit of turmeric. But to be honest, I can really taste the turmeric. I think it tastes, I don't really like it in scrambled tofu or cheese sauce because I think it tastes horrible. But yeah, if you want turmeric, add a bit of turmeric. Hate comments. I'm going to eat some of my nice pasta. It's really nice. You can definitely say it tastes like the salty and creaminess from the almond cheese, and it's a little bit bitter from the lemon juice, and then you've got the saltiness from the salt as well. Brexit video. It was actually quite interesting because all of the comments I got under my Brexit video were actually not vegans posting. They were like omnivores posting about me eating vegan meatballs for some reason. I found that really weird. But one of my subscribers who absolutely loves my channel, and he comments on every single video about how malnourished I am, decided to comment, and he said, if you want meat, why not eat real meat rather than fake processed industrial waste? It's pollution to the environment too. So these meatballs that I'm eating in this video, I'm trying not to eat as much, you know, processed, crappy junk food anymore. Now, meatballs, vegan cheese, those kind of products are processed junky food. They're a treat. And it's okay to have those kind of things as a treat once in a while, just like it's okay to have meatballs once in a while. But I'm 100% sure if we looked on the ingredients of meatballs, and I've done this before, I've looked on the ingredients of a Beyond Burger and a meat burger, and the ingredients in the meat burger are normally like wheat and additives and processed sugars and crap like that. So real meat burgers and vegan burgers, or vegan meatballs and non-vegan meatballs, they're all the same processed crap, and no one should be eating them. Um, in terms of environmental pollution, the reason that people eat vegan meat products, one of the reasons, is because they do less harm to the environment. Now, if we think about it, when we're feeding a cow, it takes 10 times as much food to produce 1 kilogram of meat. Um, so essentially, we have to grow lots and lots of crops in order to feed the cow, um, when we could just eat the crops ourselves. Um, and a considerable amount of the land is taken up with feeding livestock and actually housing livestock and having them live on the land. So it's not very good for the environment anyway, eating like non-vegan meatballs. Um, but the main reason that I'm eating these vegan meatballs is because they don't kill animals. So, it's not environmental issues to me. Um, I mean, I never went vegan for environmental issues personally. Left under my why I'm saving myself for marriage video. Now, I don't consider this a hate comment, but I find this kind of interesting because it's a misconception that I have quite a lot. Um, it says, "Are you interested in sex? Your description of your first relationship sounded like you weren't interested in sex and found reasons to explain why you aren't interested in it. Have you heard of asexuality?" So there's a big difference between asexuality and voluntary celibacy, a massive difference between the two. Voluntary celibacy is you don't want to have sex because of some reason. So you don't want to have sex because you want to wait till you're married. You don't want to have sex because you're a nun. You don't want to have sex because you want to be in a committed relationship. So that's voluntary celibacy. And then asexuality is not being interested in sex at all. So there's a big difference between the two. The other thing is that, and this comes across as a contextual thing, and I don't think this person is intentionally being rude or anything like that, but often when I get this comment about asexuality, it's when I'm actually arguing about the fact that it's a good idea to save yourself until marriage, with someone else. So I'm arguing with someone else about it, and I'm stating the reasons why I'm an atheist and I'm saving myself for marriage. And then someone else comes along and is like, "Oh, well, you must be asexual." And I'm like, well, that's got nothing to do with the conversation. And I don't know why. I think it's just really weird. But anyway, so the reasons that I'm saving myself for marriage are because I think there are strong psychological, sociological and biological reasons to save yourself for marriage. Women who save themselves for marriage are less likely to get an STD, which can come with awful life-threatening consequences. For example, various types of cancer are linked with the HPV virus, which is very, very, very common. Almost every single person who is sexually active has HPV of some description, and some of those strains of HPV are actually life-threatening. So by saving yourself for marriage and by marrying someone who's had 0 sexual partners or very few sexual partners, you're considerably reducing your risk of getting the HPV virus, as well as other sexually transmitted diseases. The second issue that I have is with fertility drugs. So fertility drugs come with a host of issues. One of the issues is it increases your risk of certain types of cancer. Liver cancer is actually increased by taking liver tumours is increased by taking the hormonal contraception. And what's an interesting thing about the risk of liver tumours is even if you've stopped taking hormonal contraception for a long time, you still have this increased risk of liver tumours. There are other forms of cancers that actually increase while you're taking the drug, and then they kind of taper off, like after a long period like after you've taken the drug. So the drug goes out of your system, and as the drug's out of your system, your risk of cancer reduces. So depending on the cancers, they have various different issues. There's also issues of blood clots. Blood clots are pretty awful. They can come with terrible consequences, obviously, life-threatening consequences. And the third set of issues I have are actually with the divorce rate and what that kind of leads to. Women who save themselves for marriage actually have a much lower divorce rate. And one of the reasons for this is that women who save themselves for marriage are less likely to go into a marriage with children. And women who have children from a previous marriage are much more likely to get divorced. And stepkids are actually likely to be abused. Well, they're not likely to be abused, but they're more likely to be abused by a step-parent than an actual mum or dad or anyone else. The reason for this is that this is quite sad, and this only happens in a couple of circumstances, but there are my not uncle, but my friend Chris, he works at the AP, which is for people coming out of prison. And what sometimes happens is that sexual predators will target women with children, and they will become friends with them, they'll become nice with them, and they will start abusing the woman's children. It's quite bad. But apart from that, the issue is if you're likely to get divorced and you're likely to have lots of kids from previous marriages, those kids are less likely to do well in education, they're more likely to get involved in violent crime, and I just don't think it's good for them. And I don't think it's good for divorced men who often have mental health problems themselves from getting divorced because they're not able to see their kids as much, and women who are more likely to have depression if they get divorced. So yeah, I don't think that the situation is good for anyone. I don't think that sex before marriage is good for society, and I don't think it's good for me and my future family. So, Tory support hunting, Theresa May so openly claimed. How can you support them when you're vegan and against animal cruelty? So I thought this was quite an interesting statement. I suppose the issue is that no political party want to stop animal exploitation. No political party have wanted to stop animals being killed or exploited in any way. The Labour Party had better animal welfare laws. However, it could be argued that these animal welfare laws only have a use in trying to make people feel better about themselves, better about their wrong actions. So if we have much better animal welfare laws than Germany or America or whatever, people might just buy into the concept that we have such better animal welfare laws and not actually go vegan because our animal welfare laws are so good. So I think that that's one dangerous thing about having good animal welfare laws, is that it kind of excuses people's actions in eating meat. The other issue is that people don't vote on one set of policies. They don't vote on someone's animal welfare policies. They vote on the party as a whole. And when I was voting on the party as a whole, it was because Boris Johnson, okay, he didn't have as good animal welfare laws, but he wanted to get out of the EU. He didn't have this kind of extreme socialism that Jeremy Corbyn had. An extreme socialism which personally would have made me struggle even more than I am financially. So I just voted for who I thought would benefit me the most and people like me the most. So the next comment says, "You are a baffling set of contradictions, but conservative and pro Brexit are just disgusting." Um, so the reason that people voted for Brexit was because they didn't like the idea of unrestricted immigration from the European Union. Now, I think that immigration um, can be a good thing. It can be a good thing. Um, but having unrestricted immigration isn't a good idea. We need to make sure that everyone that comes to the country has a job and is able to speak the language. Unless, of course, there may be a refugee or something like that. Um, but European people who come to the country and aren't able to speak the language and don't have a job, it's not a very good idea. They would be better off in their own country, and of course they could come back when they have a job in an industry that we need the people to have jobs in, and they're able to speak enough English to get by, to read their bills, to do all of the other things that they need to do. Um, my only other concern about immigration, if we're looking at high skilled immigration from abroad, places like India and Pakistan and that kind of thing, is that if we import lots and lots of doctors from all of these other countries, then these other countries may not have enough of their own doctors. And so we do also need to focus on making sure that we're training enough nurses and doctors, and in order to make sure that we have enough actually trained in the UK. Um, in terms of being conservative, I mean, like, I just don't really like Jeremy Corbyn's ideas, like extreme socialism. Um, and I think his extreme socialism would disadvantage me and people like me. Now, I don't think that people are poor because they don't have enough benefits. I think that people are poor because they don't qualify for benefits for some reason. So, from my point of view, Jeremy Corbyn would have increased the price of products through things like corporation tax and paying workers higher wages. And essentially, this would have meant I would have to pay more for products. Um, as someone who is a full-time student, I'm not able to afford that, and I actually earn less than someone on unemployment benefit, and I don't qualify for council housing. So him increasing the price of products in order to produce council housing for people and give people an employment benefit wouldn't benefit me. It would mean that I struggle even more financially so that someone else could have a better quality of life than I do. So I didn't think that Labour's policies were fair. I didn't think they benefited me, and I don't think they benefited people like me. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys, and please subscribe and like this video.